Hello, everybody. This is your girl, Michelle, with Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. So, we are back for another episode of our Girls Talk Real Talk podcast, where we will be talking to business owners, sharing their journey, and getting to know them a little bit in regards to what it is that they're dealing with in their lives and what brought them to decide to go into business. Because some of us choose to go into business, but others of us were kind of pushed into business because of the economy, because of the pandemic, because of a number of things. Mm-hmm. And so today on our show, we have Enisha, and she is here to share herself with us today, to give us some little gems of knowledge of how she got started and what her inspiration is. So, Enisha, I'm going to give you a minute to introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, yay. Thank you so much. And so my name's Enisha Ligon-Garrett, and I'm the founder of Black Women Mean Business magazine. And through our publication and our community over on Facebook, we have one mission, and that's to enrich the lives of Black women. And we do that through, of course, the articles that we share in the magazine, but also just by wrapping our arms around Black women and providing community and making sure that they have the resources to take themselves to their next. So you define that next, and then we're there to support you through our resources and community.
Well, I'm so glad that you are here. I know that life sometimes takes us in different places. It does different things. Mm-hmm. And so I really want to get into one aspect of who you are. So how did you start your journey? What did that look like for you?
So for me, I've been in publishing for some time now, right? So we started off, and I don't tell this story often, but it's really cool. My best friend and I, we used to hand out party flyers. So we're from LA, we're LA girls, and we loved hanging out at nightclubs. And we said, well, if we're going to be here, all the boys are making money. We want to make money too. So how can we make money? And so of course the boys that were the nightclub promoters, they said, oh, well, we need girls to hand out flyers. And everybody that comes to the club with your name on their flyer, you're going to get paid $5, right? And we're like, $5 for every person, because the cover was like $20 to get in. And so we're like, oh my God, we're going to make so much money. But what we realized was just she and I, we wanted to go and still have a good time. So we weren't making as much money as we thought we would. So long story short, we created a street team of girls. So we ended up with having about 40 girls on our team that we would bounce around and work for different promoters, passing out flyers. But as we well know, flyers come in boxes. We're cute girls. We're running around in our heels and stuff. And so the boxes were heavy. And so it just wasn't conducive. So we said, we're going to create a magazine. We'll put all the flyers in one magazine. And so now, instead of us having 20 boxes, we've got 4 boxes. And so that's how my lifelong journey in publishing was born. It was just, we don't want to carry all those flyers.
I understand that. I wouldn't want to carry all those flyers either, but I thought that was ingenious, because how many of us are going to have that hustle mentality that we're just going to step into this space and figure out how we're going to make that work for us? Because a lot of times we don't think about it. We just kind of wait for somebody to tell us, okay, you got this job now, I want you to go do this. And they're kind of orchestrating what this is going to look like in our lives. And that isn't always the case. That isn't always what it looks like. Yes. And so in the midst of you going through that experience, what led you, or not led, what was the journey you took in order to become a businesswoman?
So I come from a family of entrepreneurs, some legal, some not, but definitely come from a family of entrepreneurs. But notably, my grandfather, he was a prominent business owner in the small town I grew up in Monrovia. And there weren't a lot of Black-owned businesses there, but my grandfather was one of the most prominent. He had a gardening business and an auto body business on a great highway. And he worked for some of the most prominent families in business. businesses throughout the city. So I've always sort of seen what entrepreneurship looks like and sort of what that life can give you, big and small. So I've always wanted that. I did at first, I wanted to be a lawyer and a lobbyist. And then I ended up having my daughter, and that kind of career change. And then I just always knew, like, eventually I was going to become an entrepreneur. So I always had a side hustle, and I'm recently full-time entrepreneur. So I've been a side, I hate to treat my businesses like they're side hustles, but I'm a lifelong legal professional. So I've always had like this really high impact kind of corporate job, but I never could shake the entrepreneur bug. So I've always had something going on, and knowing one day that it was going to be my next big thing. So always knew it was in my blood and just needed to find my way.
So what was it like while you were stepping out there? What did that look like for you?
So I've been close a lot of times, and I've dabbled, and I've gotten I've worked as a full-time entrepreneur out of the need, but never in this transition way like I've done over this last year. And, it's scary to leave a great job in the middle of a pandemic. But it was just time. It just felt right. Not all the things were in place. Like, right, if I had an advisor sitting here going, do you got your 6 months of savings? Can you do all the things? Are all your operations in tick? No, they're not. And so I just felt for me, it became time. And in our community, what we do is we try to set women up for when it is time, because it's not always going to be that perfect scenario, either by choice or by force, that you may have to leave your job for full-time entrepreneurship. It's just about having those revenue drivers. So when I did make the choice to leave, I knew I had the capacity to make more money. I knew that we were going to be okay. And it wasn't going to be a financial strain on my family in that kind of way. But I also just knew it was time. And I think a lot of times for Black women, we either don't have ourselves in a position to put our health and wellness and our sanity and our fed upness with first, or we just don't have the financial leverage or the resources. And so what I advise people to take the path that I've taken, not necessarily, but at the same time, for me this year, I had been working with coaches and people really sort of pushing me to that next level. And I just knew it was time.
So when you finally made the decision that, or the first time you made the decision that you were going to go out, did you talk yourself out of it?
Oh, I've talked myself out of it 100 times. Our first business, we did those events and those party magazines at Super Bowl, NBA All-Star, Black Beach Week, all the big events that you might have 300,000 people verging on a city to party. Right. And they don't know where all the parties are. So we would have events where we would do close to $100,000 in revenue. We were terrible business women back then, because we'd have probably $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in cost, because we really didn't understand how to, our girls were working overtime or half working and taking advantage of us. So excuse me for that. But we really weren't putting ourselves in a position to leave, because we'd make all that money on the books, and then we would look up and go, man, we made 100 G's, but we ain't got no money left over. So we can't leave our jobs. Both myself and my best friend, Stephanie, who was my business partner for a long time, we're both legal professionals. So, those are high paying, good jobs, with benefits for our children. We just never put ourselves, like, as business women in a position, even though we really had a great business.
That brings up a point, because I think for a lot of business individuals, male and female, that we don't think about how we're spending our money. Because if we want to be honest, a lot of us started off with a side hustle.
Yep.
And even when the side hustle got a little good, and we were able to say we brought in a whole lot of money, our expenses, and sometimes those expenses were not necessary expenses.
Yep.
But because we had the money, we went ahead and we paid for what we felt like we needed to pay for without thinking of the long term. So for someone who's thinking along that, what is some tidbits that you can share with our listening audience in regards to that, of how they can change that mindset, do a mind shift?
Yeah. So right now I'm in the process of restructuring the way we're doing, and we're moving to the profit first model, where we're thinking about long term, what does the business have left over? But I think a lot of times as business owners, we don't consider the fact that you got to pay yourself. You know, this whole don't pay yourself or pay yourself all of it only works for so long, because if you're paying yourself all of it, you're going to look up and you're not going to have enough for operating expenses or expansion, or there's never going to be anything in the kitty in case something happens. I call the kitty your savings, or, you know, your stash away. There's never going to be anything there. So I think it's about working, either, you know, educating yourself in finances, or working with a financial professional, someone who can give you a system that you follow systematically. And I love that word, systematically. Like, it never changes. Every month, this is how we treat. And I think we just don't have a lot of respect for money, right? But this is how we treat our money. So as the owner, I'm going to pay myself X per month, X percentage per month. I'm going to put this much away for taxes, because Uncle Sam, he coming whether you want him to or not.
That it.
And then deciding, how much am I going to be willing to spend on operations? Because yes, I may want to hire that executive assistant who might be $17 to $20 an hour, but really my budget only allows for me to hire someone that's $10 or $12 an hour. So not even knowing those things, where the budget is, you're going to ruin your finances. You're never going to be clear on what you can spend and what you cannot.
So just from what it is that you've learned in your business, you said that you were going into a profit first system for your finances. What is that?
So there's a great book out, and the author's name escapes me because I just learned about this very recently in my mastermind. And so the way his model works, and the thing that intrigued me, was the owner gets paid 30%, right? So knowing if you want to make $10,000 a month, you need to be bringing in $30,000 a month. So then you're breaking that down into the other systems. And please forgive me, go get the book yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to mess this up, but I believe it is. So the way our spreadsheet looks, it's at 30% for the owner. You've got 40% for operations, 15 for taxes, and 15 for profit. I think that's good math there. So you got your 15% for profit, 15% for taxes, 30% for the owner, and then 40% for operational costs.
That's a good model. Now, that was the first time I've heard about that. So I'm going to have to go check that one out, because I know my accountant doesn't necessarily subscribe to that system, but we might have to have some conversations. And so,
it's a really popular model by the author is, and I'm just going to get his name right, Mike Michalowicz. Oh, that I'm butchering that name, but his name is Mike, Michalowicz. That's a full name right there.
Yeah, so that's a whole full name all by itself.
So yeah, he is the author, and it's a very popular system called Profit First.
Okay. I like that. That's very interesting. So I want to jump over, because how I met you was a little different. You had put out a request for content creators for the magazine, and I responded. And I have to tell you, I was impressed. And one of the reasons why I was impressed is that normally when individuals put out requests for content creators for their magazines, it wasn't at the level of where yours was, where you filled out the application and you sent it in, and then you guys reviewed the information, and then you selected the ones that you thought was the best fit for your magazine. How did you come by, or how did you decide to make that your process for bringing in individuals that would be guest editors and content creators for the magazine?
So, you're going to kiss a lot of frogs when you have open calls like that, but we really believe in our mission, and our mission is be the voice. And we want all Black women to feel seen and heard, because that's why we created Black Women Mean Business in the first place. It's like, I am sick of going in rooms where Black women feel like they're being silenced, their voices aren't being respected. And so we want Black women to feel at home, like, girl, let your hair down. This is your girls and things like that. So it's very necessary for us to have all the voices of our community. So we want to have women that are in their 50s, women that are in their 20s, even though, you know, our core avatar for business might be a little different, but we want to have the voices of the entire spectrum of Black women. So putting together the application process was a lot for my sanity, first of all, because I did want to give each and every person that wanted to be a part of the magazine, I wanted to give them a fair look, right? I didn't want them just coming through some, you know, send me an email and then people tell me different stories and things like that. We wanted to really go see how they live in the world. So what does your social media look like? What are the things that are important to you? Are you aligned with our core values? Because that's really important. Our core values sit in integrity and professionalism. And so we want to go out and look and make sure that if we bring you into our community, you're going to live up to those same values. So I'm a process and system girl. So I found this amazing system, Dubsado, that we even use to support our brand clients. And we wanted to give the contributors a special experience. I mean, even this year, we've recorded an orientation for them to tell them more about our mission, our brand voice, and really get engulfed in what we're doing, because it is that important that the contributors are such a big part of what we're doing that we want them to feel special.
So when you guys laid out the magazine, Black Women Mean Business, and the concept had come to mind, you were laying out your platform and you said that you wanted Black women to have a voice when they step into the rooms, to know that they have that voice. What else are you doing that is inspiring women to step up to the plate?
Yeah, so we're leading by example. So the women who are contributors to the magazines, they all have their own respective platforms, and they're out there living the mission. And that was part of the selection process. Like, we wanted women that really embodied what we were already doing. A lot of what we do touch-wise is in our Facebook community. So women can go in there, and it's not like we're like, here's my Cash App and pay us. If someone is struggling in their business, something as simple as like, my Shopify store is tripping, we're going to tag another woman that we know runs Shopify stores in there for the cavalry to come. Not to say that we expect people to give away their expertise for free, but we really want people to know this is a place where we're here to support and uplift Black women. And sometimes we just don't have the resources, right? We don't even know who to, like, I don't know who to call if my Shopify store is not working. I mean, I guess I could look for a webmaster, but do they even know Shopify? Or I need branding collateral. Is this the right kind of graphic designer? And so really trying to make sure that people have those resources, because when your business is doing what it needs to do and you feel confident and you feel sure-footed, then you're going to go out there and amplify your own voice. And so by proxy, we are amplifying the voices of Black women just by empowering the women that come into our community.
So I like that concept, because I have found, since being in business myself, that a lot of the things that I do with the clientele that I work with, I haven't seen it in our community. I've seen it in other communities, but I haven't seen it in our communities. I haven't seen people that look like me doing what I do. And sometimes that would bother me. And so I would find myself wanting to share more, to give more information away. And I'm constantly being tapped, Michelle, stop giving all that information away free. You can't keep giving all that stuff away free. But I believe in our women. I believe that we have not been given the same opportunities for information and to retrieve and to learn that information that our counterparts have. And so now, the last statistic that I read had said by 2025 that 72% of women that are in business will be women of color.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing, because we are, even though the Black community spends the most money, their dollar is the most spent of all communities, we don't seem to maintain within our community. We give it away, but we don't make sure that it's coming back. And so I commend you for creating not only the magazine, but you also created the community to where the women can come together and you can just, like you said, let your hair down, get the information that you need, know the resources. So I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was in the orientation asking a bunch of questions. And I think it was in one of our groups. And we were talking about Clubhouse. And I had never heard about Clubhouse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Of course, I went on the net. I Googled Clubhouse because I needed to know what Clubhouse was, because you kept talking about it. And you kept talking about this community, and we all need to be on this community. And so I went and I checked it out. And then I said, okay, I'm going to step in. I'm going to step into the community and see what it's about. How are you utilizing that audio-based community in order to do what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, so I love audio-based, and so we haven't done a lot of leveraging as the brand over there yet. Like, so we do host a room every Tuesday at 6 PST time. So we've been really consistent with that. But for me personally, I was looking for more ways for me to connect with people that do what I do. Right? Just like you were saying, you don't know a lot of people that do what you do. I didn't know a lot of other publishers. And so a lot of people are there and they're marketing and monetizing, and we'll have some sort of Clubhouse funnel or sell some Clubhouse graphics or do all the things to make money and leverage the platform. But me personally, I've just been over there making great relationships and having community with people. And I think that's the intent, because I can sit here in my pajamas, eyebrows not on, no lips, nothing, and be on that app and really give. Like, it's really what social media used to be, where people are just giving, right? They're giving up so much information, and I like to call it free game alert. They're giving people a lot of game over there because it's a new platform and people want to establish themselves as the thought leaders over there. So I would encourage anybody that, has an iOS device, and that could be an iPhone or an iPad, to get over on the app and have community with people, get on stages and let them get introduced to your expertise, because it's been really fun over there, just meeting new publishers, meeting people in tech, and really popping into rooms to hear other people's expertise.
I think that that's important because I know that I came in up under one of your invites, and I kind of stepped into some of the rooms, and I must admit, I have been impressed. I have been impressed. Now let me back up. There have been some shenanigans.
Oh, there are some shenanigans everywhere.
You don't get away from the shenanigans. But overall, I've had the opportunity to meet some great Black women. I've had the opportunity to co-host some of the rooms that I've been in, and even met some women that I now consider as friends.
Yeah.
So I think that, I didn't know about Clubhouse until you brought it up, but I think it's one of the up and coming social media platforms that is opening the door for a lot of people to get opportunities for influence that they didn't have prior to. Because I was in one of the rooms, and there was a woman from Italy on there. There was another woman from the UK, and a couple of people from Africa. And I was like, wow. I knew that they were in the UK. I just didn't know that it was everywhere else.
Yeah, so they're a worldwide app. And I love what you said about going in there, starting your own rooms, and really, I'm real big on this for 2022 is I want to see more thought leadership from Black women. Because I was looking for, we're thinking about hosting a book club in our community. And I wanted to have a business book by a Black woman. Right. And I'm not talking about a book where a businesswoman tells her story, because there's tons of those. I wanted a hard hitting business book, just like you would get from a Stephen Covington or, all of those, Brian Tracy, and I'm messing up all the names, but we know the gurus of the world, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of those sort of staple philosophies that business folks read. And I was looking for that same thing by Black women, and they were few and far between. I mean, a good friend, and I consider a good friend and featured on the cover of our magazine, the last issue, Audrea Richmond. She has a marketing book, and it's marketing tactics. It's 1, 2, 3. Here's how you grow your business using my marketing philosophy that I, came to, and it's thought leadership. And so I want to see more of that with Black women. And I love that more Black women over there on Clubhouse are taking the stage and being an early adopter of it. But now I want to see those things. You help public authors with their books and things like that. I said, I'm starting a publishing company, and we're not going to publish anything but business books by Black women, because I want to see more thought leadership and more. This is my proprietary process, and this is how I think you should do business in all of these facets, because I'm just not seeing enough of that from Black women. And, if somebody's not going to do it, I don't wait on the sidelines for other people to do things.
So early on, you were talking about that you had originally started off with a mindset of what you wanted to do, and then you had your daughter and things kind of changed for you. Understanding that change, although a necessary change, how has your mindset changed? And what was the necessity of that change from when you first started out to where you are now?
So I've had several mind shifts. I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm 43 years old. So I've had several life changes. Early on with my oldest daughter, who is 22 now. So Cobe's 22. I was a single mom up until she was about 8 or 9 years old. And then I met my now husband, Ivan, and we had more kids. And so, going through that single mom, kind of a party girl, having a good time, working, still responsible, but, living life, to then now I'm a military spouse with 2 young babies. So imagine I'm no longer writing a magazine about nightlife and entertainment. That's just not my life anymore. So I couldn't, get behind the content. And so I had a mindset shift of like, how do I still get to do what I love, but it looks different? And that's when I started thinking about business services. We started doing more branding and marketing for those same clients, those same relationships that I had from those promoters. And that just all had to shift, because I knew I wanted to stay in this space. But I think we just don't give ourselves enough grace to evolve. Like at every evolution, I gave myself so much grief over it. I was like, oh my God, my business is failing, this and that. But in reality, I'm the business. And I pivoted. I chose to make a pivot, but all those skills, that is my skill that pays the bills now. All of those that I acquired, those late nights creating magazines and flyers for those promoters and those first early clients. So my mindset has really just shifted from a I can't to an abundant. I feel like there's nothing we can't do. And people say, I can't wait till I make 7 figures. A lot of people, that's their big wish, right? And my big wish is I cannot wait till I have a 7-figure payroll. I want to have $1 million payroll where every year I'm paying over $1 million to beautiful Black people to support my dreams and support theirs.
Wow. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't think, because it goes back to something you said before, that we haven't learned how to respect money. And I think when you do go into business and you haven't learned that valuable lesson, then you're in it for the money, and you're not necessarily in it for the opportunity to give back and to pull somebody else up. Because a lot of times in our community, we have the crab mentality.
Yeah.
And so
it's good to see that that's changing a lot, though. I'm glad we're changing that narrative, because it really is, I have met such amazing Black women on this journey. I do not have like one negative story to tell about how another Black woman has treated me throughout my journey. And I think I want to give myself some credit in that I am infectious with giving. I will outgive you every single day of the week because I want you to win as much as I want to win. As much as I want that for myself, it brings me as much joy to see you winning. And I think when you just put that sort of energy out there, you don't attract crabs in a barrel people because they know like nothing, no good is going to come of that over in this area. So,
yeah, when you were going now, I want to go back because you mentioned that you were in a mastermind. Mm-hmm. How important is it for us once we hit that business level that we continue to evolve, that we continue to grow, that we continue to add to our knowledge base and to feel accomplished, to feel as if we are giving value to our community?
I mean, it's very important, right? Because I mean, at some level, you're going to have enough money, right? And you move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And you're okay, food, water, shelter, that's met. Okay, now I'm on the next level and I'm on the next level. And for me, part of what I've always wanted to see is being able to give back to my community. If that's not your jam, though, I don't want to, I'm not here to make that how you feel fulfilled. If that's not something you want to see in your life, by all means, people live great lives having never gave back, never cared about another soul. I mean, I think it would feel kind of dark and sad, but that's their choice. But for those who can, I think a lot of times, though, sometimes we don't secure our own mask first. We are such big givers. Like, we will tithe before we pay our light bill. And I know that's what God tells you and you are being diligent, but I think sometimes we don't focus enough on making sure we have both, making sure that we can give our tithes and offering and we can take care of our sister girlfriend down the street that, needs a little something. And then you look up and you're like, oh my goodness, I did not even budget properly, or I didn't sell that one more digital product or do that one more thing to make sure even I was okay, or I'm not watching my profit margins. And it might have looked like I made $100,000 this year, but when we really looked at it, what did I bring home? About 22,000 or something like that, because in all of these studies where they were talking about how Black women were starting the most businesses. So we're leading the entrepreneur race, and Black women are starting businesses more than any other any other race. But then there in the next paragraph, they said, but they are the least profitable. So on average, we were making $24,000 a year. So imagine that, living off of $24,000 a year in your business. The business still needs stuff. You're eligible for welfare.
Right. I think that makes a difference because it's really about the mindset, about how we go into this. I just finished reading a book by John Maxwell, one of the leading coaches in the world. And I was reading his book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And in that book, he talks about intentional growth. And he talks about how once you get clear about what it is that you want to do and the direction you want your life to go in, then once you start acting on that, the motivation will come. The motivation will meet you where you are and take you where you need to go. But we have these gaps. We have like the knowledge gap. And then we have that gap, which is the mind gap, where we talk ourselves out of stuff. We allow, or we begin to look to other people to affirm us. People that are not in our community of business, they have no idea what you're doing as a business person, have never really been in business, but we look to them to affirm us. And what I have seen, and I've seen in my own life, is that a lot of times we set ourselves up for failure when we do that because they don't understand what you're going through. And they have no knowledge of what it took you to even get to that point.
To the point you're at now, yeah.
Right. And so he also goes on to talk about how you have to begin to see what you believe. and stop believing what you see.
Mm-hmm.
So in your life, what does that look like?
I'm a big dreamer, right? So I know what my perfect life looks like. And the funny thing is it involves work because I love working. Like I'm not, but I love working when I want to work. Like I don't want to work when somebody tells me I got to be there or things like that. So and I love working on the things that I want to work on. So I could definitely see myself, I can clearly see myself having this big beautiful building and all my girls work there, all of my daughters, and they're so happy to be part of the family legacy. Like I can just see that. Like I'm like, oh, what kind of desk am I going to have? Oh, yeah, that's going to be a beautiful marble desk that I'm going to have. And just really normalizing living a very luxury life. But having my family so close to that, like right now where I work from home, this is what I affectionately call the cloffice, which is my master bedroom closet, but it's huge. It's like a little spare bedroom. So we turn this in, but I have an open door policy certain hours of the day where even if I'm working, the girls can come in here, they can help me design a flyer, or they can just be here with me while I'm on a conference call with a client. And I can just see that life vividly as they get older. And then, they probably have this little spurt where they're like, I don't want anything to do with the family business, but I see them coming home and me handing over the reins to one of them. All of those amazing things are just so vivid in my legacy. And we've just got hundreds of employees that we're also helping to live an amazing life.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw something out at you, and I purposely didn't give this to you ahead of time.
Okay.
Because I didn't. I want to get the moment.
Okay.
So I just did a presentation on Tuesday to a group of women, professional women's group at Dress for Success. And so in that presentation, we talked about your 5 core values.
Okay.
So as a businesswoman, what are your core values?
So my big core value is integrity. So if I could give you that one 2 or 3 times, I would, because I just believe in just living with integrity and, kind of very close to that. But I'm going to give it for the number 2 is just professionalism, right? Because those are just the things that I think so many people lack that don't give you that competitive edge or just make you the kind of business that you want to be. One of my other core values is community. Because I really want to have, it's no fun if it's just me. And I want to see others win just as much as I want myself to win. Our other core value is ambition, because we really just want to see you out there giving it all and doing your best. And then fun. I think so many of us take all of this way too serious. And if 2020 has not taught us anything with just seeing, what a virus can do to people's lives, taking lives away from us, shutting down an economy, and really changing the trajectory of our lives, I think we can all stand a lot more fun in our lives.
I like that. I like that. In the midst of what you were saying earlier, you talked about having that legacy to leave for your girls.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even become legacy minded?
Because, well, one, I've seen what it looks like when it's not. And I've seen watch people lose things like, in the town I grew up in, now the homes are worth millions of dollars. And I remember on my street growing up, all of the older people owned their homes. Mm-hmm. They all owned their homes. And then as that changed and, they passed on and their kids sold those homes. And then going into a town that I can barely recognize, and my grandmother and maybe one other family are the only people who have generationally stayed in that community. I really just want to see more people having those long-term stories, and not of hardship to tell, but of triumph and of taking their lives and their families to the next level, and really changing the opportunities that our children have. Not to say that my children have to come and work for me, but the fact that they could, and it could provide an amazing life for them is really the stories I want them to be able to tell.
So, of your magazine, what has been your favorite edition?
So this one, the current edition, is my favorite because it is everything I've always wanted to do with the magazine. So in addition to putting out the actual print version, we also had the interactive version. We had interviews that I did with my coach, April Franks, who I love, who has been such an amazing blessing in my life. Sitting down and having a candid conversation with her, that was amazing. And then also, we had a conference. So our mission is for you to take the content on the pages of the magazine to the next level. So each person that we featured also did a training, and they came with their best stuff. Like, these are my super friends. All of them are multi-million-dollar earners, and have amazing businesses. And I was able to, because of relationships, either they had mentored or coached me somewhere on my journey, call them up and say, would you come and pour into my community? And they were like, absolutely, let me know what you need. And so we were able to do what we do on the pages of the magazine, but then also give all of the women that were there at the conference or caught the replay really the steps to implement that content.
Wow. So you've created a whole different platform. So it's not just the magazine, whether it's electronic or it's in print form. So what made you decide to do that aspect of it? Because that's taking a magazine to a whole nother level.
Well, when I first thought of it about 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't as common. And I wish I could say that I'm like, we're the only people doing it now. So even if you go to an entrepreneur magazine or things like that, they have courses. Because smart business people, if you're a business person, you need to follow the trends of business. And the online education business is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so what we were thinking is, okay, as print advertising is becoming more specialized and it's not the cash cow that it used to be, but having the representation that we wanted from the print of the magazine was still important to us. How else can we monetize the community? How else can we provide more value that people are willing to pay for? And oftentimes, some of the criticism of magazines is that the information is kind of flipped through the pages while you're eating a salad. Okay, I might skim and catch a few things. We were like, how can we really take that content to the next level? And so providing, either we'll provide a digital download that's like a worksheet or a workbook or a checklist or a video from that contributor, or even taking it as far as we did with the conference.
Okay. So I know you can't do this by yourself. So you have to have an amazing team around you.
I do have an amazing team. First and foremost, my biz besties. And I'm big on that. And I call them my board of directors or my advisory board. And so I've got some amazing ladies that I've met, online. At a conference, we linked up. One of them was my first client, Stacey Moore. She was one of the first people to pay me money for coaching, because I stood up at a conference and I said, I've been feeling like an imposter. I've been learning all of these things online and implementing for myself and my business, but I hadn't started my coaching business because I felt like an imposter. And so she raised her hand and paid me $5, because I was like, oh, I'll coach, anybody for free for the testimonial. I just really want to do more. And then we decided that they were going to pay me. So she did, along with a couple of other ladies. And then we've just been inseparable ever since. And, she's really become a big part of my business, and she's our project manager and holds us down in that way. And then from her, I've just sort of gathered more and more biz besties that we can support each other. And so that's affectionately known as the board of directors. And then I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing, family at home, even from the kids. My mom is here to support us, and she helps with the kids and stuff like that. And then my husband, he's a retired soldier, so out of the Army. and he's very supportive in my business. And then I have my coaches and mentors. So April Franks, she is my coach, my day-to-day ongoing coach. But then also people like Dave Anderson. Dave has been pouring into me for years as a great mentor and pushing me on. So I say all that to say you really got to surround yourself with great people that are willing to pour into you and hold you down and all of those good things.
I think that that's very important. Actually, you're the reason that I found my new coach.
Nice.
I had come into one of the rooms you were in, and she was in the room with you guys, and y'all were holding court and talking business. And Ramonica.
I love Ramonica.
Ramonica, she's helping me get some things done. Really putting a fire up under me to get some things done I should have already had done and didn't already have done. So, but it's amazing how once you set your mind that this is what you want to do and this is the direction you want to go in, when you get that level of clarity, it won't take long. You'll meet the people that are meant to take that journey with you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
to make sure that you have the tools and the skills that you need to move forward. So what do we have to look forward to from Enisha and the Black Women Mean Business magazine, as well as your group?
So right now we're working on some really exciting initiatives, and I'm a big dreamer again. And so there was a lot of things that we were like, first quarter, we're going to do 20 different things. And then transitioning out of full-time employment, I'm just like the ladies in my community. That's what I have to remind them sometimes, that as much as I'm the leader, the quasi leader of the group, I'm also a Sherpa of the group. I'm also doing what you guys are doing. I'm in the messy middle of my business. And so for this first quarter, we're going to launch a new issue of the magazine. We're really excited that we just hired an amazing young lady to come in and reshape all of our editorial. So we're making some amazing investments on the infrastructure. So new content is coming, more informative and more engaging. So we're really excited about that. And then we'll have a conference and some other initiatives during the first quarter. But the big thing, and where we've been spending a lot of our energy, is in the community. So in our Facebook community is where we've been doing the most work, hosting accountability sessions, having speed dating for you to find your biz bestie, and doing a lot of things there just to let the ladies know they're supported as we're figuring out exactly how we're going to show up in the world in terms of, product offerings and all of those great things. But for sure, we've got a magazine dropping in just a few weeks here. And then we'll, of course, have exciting things to come with that.
So if it's one thing that you have set a goal for 2021, what would that goal be and why?
So we want to have over 1,000 women take one of our trainings. So through the trainings that we're going to be providing throughout the year with our partners, we want to make sure that we can have over 1,000 women complete our trainings.
That's a good goal. Good goal. So if you had to give one business tip to a woman who is walking away from their 9-to-5, going into business full time, and they're terrified, but they're determined, I'm going to do this because it's time, what would you say to them?
The biggest thing I would say is give yourself some grace, because I think sometimes we're our worst critics and we allow ourselves to spiral. And then to piggyback on that, I would say surround yourself with great people, because you're probably not going to give yourself the grace you deserve and you're going to spiral. And that's not to be doom and gloom. It's natural. Entrepreneurship is the toughest thing you'll ever do. And so knowing that, first of all, no one learns how to become a figure skater overnight. There's lots of bumps and bruises. There are sprained ankles and maybe even a broken arm. That's the same way this entrepreneurship journey is going to go. But next thing you know, you're going to do that fancy triple axe spin and all your dreams are going to be coming true. So give yourself some grace, take the bumps and bruises, but just make sure you have people there that are in your corner to pick you up, to fix your crown, but to also give you that constructive criticism when you need it, and be ready for growth.
So next month, I have termed it self-love.
Nice.
Instead of loving on someone else, I'm encouraging our audience to love on themselves. So what is one self-love tool that you use in your own life?
I like audiobooks and audio noise, so podcasts and stuff like that. And so that's kind of my zone, right? And my husband is gracious enough that sometimes in the bed, he's okay with me just zoning out with sort of that white noise. I'm not a very indulgent person. Like, I don't love the spa or getting my nails done or any of that, but I love being able to just be in my zone with, some sort of informational stuff in my ear. And so while that doesn't sound very indulgent, the thing I want you to take away from that is whatever your thing is, it's okay, and just do more of that. So if spa days are your self-love, give yourself more of that. If you love getting your hair done and sometimes it's financially out of reach, figure out how you're going to sell one more of whatever you sell so that you never have to sacrifice that again. So whatever your thing is, make sure that you can do more of that. And your business is a great tool for that to happen.
It's been awesome talking to you, Enisha. I'm glad that we had this opportunity, and I know the audience is going to just love hearing what it is that you have to say. One of the things before we close out that I want to make sure that we put out there, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to be able to get in touch with you?
So the best way to experience Black Women Mean Business is by coming into our community. And we made that super easy for you. You can just go to joinbwmb.com, and that's going to bring you over into our Facebook group. And that's how you'll get access to the magazine. But most of all, you'll get access to community. And I think that's the big thing that has been the biggest, that is the thing that has been the biggest difference in my life and business, is having other amazing Black women around me.
So in everything that you do, you had mentioned earlier when we were talking that you love what you do. You love your work. How important is that in how you get up and how you show up every day when you're doing your work?
So for me, it's really important. But I think the thing we also have to understand, because this is not a charity, it is a business. And if you love what you do, part of being able to love what you do is figuring out how to make money from what you do, and good money from that. Because oftentimes you can find yourself hating what you do, even though it's something you love, because you're not making any money. And so I don't want the business to take that from you. If you love doing hair and you want to wake up and do hair every day, then let's figure out a way that business is profitable for you. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start to associate that lack, or the lack of abundance of financial resources that you have in your business, with the thing you love. And I don't want that for you. So as much as I love what I do, I don't know that I would get to love on it if it wasn't a revenue driver. So I would encourage you to take the time to really think about how you can, continue to make good money that you need in your business so that you can wake up every day and do what you love.
Thank you so very much for sharing yourself with us. And
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I am looking forward to working more with you in regards to Black Women Mean Business. And I'm sure that there will be some great things coming out within our community as well, of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a few minutes to share anything you want to share with the audience.
Okay, so absolutely. So I think we've shared a lot, and I appreciate you so much, Michelle, for having me and allowing me to share my platform with everyone. I think the big thing that I would leave you with is the two things that I've talked about throughout this interview, is really find yourself, if it's not our community over at joinbwmb.com, find yourself a community of like-minded folks that you can get close to, that you can trust, and that can become part of your journey, because as you're growing your life and your business, the one thing that will make the biggest difference is community. So I encourage you to find your tribe and find your people.
Thank you. So again, this is Michelle with Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. Enisha, thank you so much for coming on to our show and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and those gems with our listening audience. So we'll see you again next week with another great interview of another individual that we will highlight. But remember, before we go, don't forget that we are having our listener challenge. So make sure that you go to the Girls Talk Facebook page to get more information about the listener challenge. So this is your girl Michelle signing off with Enisha. You guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.